So this is sports themed. I'm gonna give you 3 athletes.
Okay.
You gotta choose which one you start, which one you bench, and which one you cut.
Okay.
Okay?
I can do that.
Kellen Moore, Jared Zabransky, Bart Hendricks.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Neat Conversations, where you get to see some of your favorite all-time Broncos enjoy a flight of whiskeys while talking about the good old days. Neat Conversations is sponsored by Horseshoe Spirits, the nation's first collegiate athletic spirits line. In addition to the collective's bourbon, Horseshoe Spirits also produces gin, rum, and vodka, with proceeds from sales going to the Horseshoe Collective in support of Boise State student athletes' NIL efforts, in partnership with local community organizations. On today's episode, one of the most humble Hall of Famers you'll ever meet, someone who played professionally after his Bronco tenure and then came back to raise a family in the Treasure Valley, and he's working for his alma mater now. You'll be hard-pressed to find a better human than Bart Hendricks.
All right, Bart Hendricks is here, Hall of Fame quarterback for the Boise State Broncos. And Bart, for those that don't know, we're here drinking bourbon. And I know you're interested in bourbon, maybe not an expert just yet, so give us an idea of your experience level and interest in the brown liquor.
I like tasting bourbon, but it's more about the company than the bourbon for me.
Fair.
Right?
Well,
the vibe, the scene.
I can't speak to the company, but I can speak to the bourbon, and I think you're going to be pretty happy with it.
All right.
So we've got the Horseshoe Collective. Very good. That's why we're all here.
Yes. Horseshoe
Spirits line. We'll start off with that, but before we get to that, I do want to ask you a quick question. Are you familiar with the concept of start, bench, cut?
Start, bench, cut. I kind of like the other one where
Yes, not HR
blank,
appropriate
Mary,
version.
kill.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
So this is sports themed. I'm going to give you 3 athletes.
Okay.
You got to choose which one you start, which one you bench, and which one you cut.
Okay.
Okay?
I can do that.
Kellen Moore, Jared Zabransky, Bart Hendricks.
Who are we playing?
What kind of context do you need?
Are we in a championship game where we need to
win?
Well, winning is the ultimate key, but maybe it's like 4th and 1.
No, you got to start the game. This is not 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter. This is the entire game.
All right.
The entire body of work, not situational football.
Dang it. Then you got to go with Kellen Moore.
Okay, so Kellen's starting.
Yeah.
Who's on the bench?
Zabransky.
Wow. What a humble guy you are.
Yeah.
You're a Hall of Famer, and you're saying you're going to get cut.
Well, because Zabransky was a little bit better runner than I am.
Okay.
And, gosh, if you could put me in the middle, because I'm looking for the yin and the yang, right? Because Zabransky come in and he's going to boom. And I was kind of more in the middle there. Yeah, and that's what I got to go with.
What a humble guy. I'll drink to that. I appreciate your humility.
Cheers.
Bart Hendricks, a Hall of Famer, and he's benching himself.
Yeah.
So, Horseshoe Collective.
Horseshoe Collective.
Oh, stop. Bart, you're drinking wrong one.
Oh, yeah. Left to right. Okay, so we'll try that again.
Yep. I'm glad I was moving
You're
right across from him.
Left to right. That's a good call.
Yep.
So, start on your left.
All right.
All right. So, cheers to the humble Bart Hendricks, Horseshoe Collective bourbon.
Okay.
And this is the first time you've had this.
Yes.
So I know you're getting familiar with spirits. This is bourbon.
Yep.
Can you tell me what makes for bourbon as opposed to any other type of whiskey?
I know I don't.
So there are 3 things.
Okay.
It's got to be made in America. Used to be in Bourbon County, Kentucky. Correct. Not anymore. It's just got to be made in America. This happens to be made in Kentucky. But made in America, at least 51% corn or more. And it has to be aged in charred oak barrel.
Okay.
This is 70% corn, very sweet. It's got wheat in there as well.
I can taste
the
how
mash
sweet.
bill is very nice. So this is, I think, for the price, one of the best whiskeys you'll find. Incredibly, for those that like cocktails, for those that like an easy drinking whiskey, I think this hits the mark. We're going to get into some other whiskeys that leave you a bit more of a Kentucky hug, a little more burn. Not for everybody, but we'll see what you think.
Yeah.
So, Bart, as we go into these questions, when we were talking beforehand about your journey to Boise State, you said something that stood out to me. You believe you got to Boise State based off one play your high school
Yes.
career. That doesn't make any sense.
I know.
So tell me what you mean by that.
Well, my high school team was not very good. So let's put it that way. And it helps. It helps to be on a decent high school football team to get any kind of looks. And I had some good plays, don't get me wrong. And I had a lot of good plays, but they kind of get subdued when you're not winning all the games. I mean, let's be honest, the quarterback that has the one stat that nobody else does, and that's wins losses. For some reason, it's tied to the quarterback. But there was literally one play, and it's not just me saying this. The coaches at the time that recruited me, when they were watching the highlight film, that it was one play that they said, it's like, okay, this is the one. This is the one. This is why we need to bring him in. Yeah.
Do you remember what
Yes,
was the play?
I do.
How did walk me through it?
I do. Well, it was quintessential my style of being a quarterback. It was play action pass to the left, not to the right. As a quarterback and you're right-handed, throwing to the right is much easier because your momentum's already going that way. To the left, and I on the run and had to throw a post corner on the run, and I just dimed it to where only one person could catch it, and that was our tight end, who I think was lucky that he caught it, and he scampered down to score. And that was the only touchdown we had during the game, by the way. But it was one play, and that was a play.
It made it into the highlight reel.
It made it to my highlight reel.
VHS tape at the time?
Yes, we are talking about the late 1900s here. So, yes.
So
DVDs didn't exist.
You went to high
Digital didn't
school
exist.
in Reno, Nevada.
Yes.
Name of your high school was?
Hug. H-U-G. Hug High School.
So did you have jerseys that just said Hug High?
I think they said Hawks because that was our official mascot was the Hawks. But I don't recall anything that said Hug High on it.
I know it was named after an individual whose last name was Hug.
Yeah.
But I feel like
a prominent Reno family. I think the gentleman was a judge and a doctor or something like that. I can't specifically remember, but it's.
When I think of Hug High School, I don't think of a winning football team.
I know.
That's tough.
I know. We had some struggles.
So you remember the struggles, the highlight that got you to Boise State.
Yes, one play.
And then you get to Boise State. What was your experience integrating into Boise State's football team? And at what point did you realize, I'm about to be the starting quarterback here?
It took a bit. When I first got on to campus there, it was Boise State was so much different than it was even by the time I was a senior. I joke with that because this was the fall of '96, and some of the players, I don't say a lot of players though were playing on that '94 team that went to the national championship game, and I joke around they were hoodlums, man. I mean, they were probably one step away from going to prison. I mean, and they'd probably admit to it, right? They were just a different style and just a different mentality, and I thought, man, this is an interesting spot. But I could play with them. I didn't play a lot. I went and played all my freshman year. I ended up redshirting, but I was traveling with the team. There was points where there might be an opportunity to actually still play, but we weren't that good that year. In fact, one of the only losing seasons in Boise State history. Our first year at the FBS level. So let's be honest.
It's a big jump up. I think that's fair. We put the asterisks, different level.
We can.
Yeah.
So I think they made the smart move. Is we don't need to play him because it's not going to make a difference. So the integration was a good one. I got the red shirt. I got to kind of get the feel of college life, being away from home, on my own, that sort of thing. I wasn't just thrown into it, which happens a lot more often now. I mean, but players are more developed and ready now. When I was in high school, you played all sports. You weren't focused on one thing. But players these days, if they want to do it and they're focused on it, and for instance, they want to play quarterback, I mean, they're training on it all year, and they're really good. Some of these high school quarterbacks are really good. So they're able to come in and they're ready to play right away. I was not.
You have that challenging season. You're getting adjusted to the college game, new FBS level football, and then you go on to have one heck of a career. A lot of wins.
Yeah.
But it may not even be the wins that you remember. So when you look back at your time as a Bronco, what stands out in a positive light?
certainly a lot of great things. Well, we won a couple of conference championships my last 2 years, junior and senior year, so those stand out. There's a few specific games that really stick out to me, but the one game that I really there's two games, one really good, one really bad. The one game that, from a good perspective, is that 1999 first bowl game. We went to the Humanitarian Bowl because back when that was the only bowl you were ever going to, and if you could have won 10 games and lost the conference, and you weren't going to a bowl game. That's just how it worked. But that was a big deal because that was the first time we'd been to a bowl game at that level within 3 years that we were already at that level. So that was a huge deal. And I thought, man, well, next year let's just do this again. And of course we did. But the one game that I really do think made a huge difference was actually a loss, and that was against the University of Idaho of all teams, and it was the 1998 game, because that was when it was still a huge rivalry, and we always played on the last day of the season, and it was the famous 2-point conversion game, and we should have won that game so many times. We missed 3 field goals. I remember we fumbled on the 1-inch line to score, and then it went to overtime, and we obviously got out-coached on the old 2-point conversion play. But I remember walking off that field thinking, I cannot believe this just happened. Like, this is so devastating to feel this way, knowing that we had so many opportunities to win. And to be honest with you, we weren't ready. We did not have the mentality to do that. So it changed. And obviously the next year, we won the conference, and then, the last 25 years now, good Lord, am I old? 25 years, some good things have happened. So I'm proud to say that made me feel like you can point to that game.
You mentioned the Vandals, and it's interesting. When I worked at Boise State, I taught as an adjunct faculty member, and it was interesting going into those classes when you're teaching. And you've got kids from the Treasure Valley, you've got kids from different parts of Idaho, you've got kids from California, Washington, wherever it might be. And one of my first questions was, do you care about sports? The answer is always yes. Love the Broncos, love following the football team. Second question is, who do you view as the rival to Boise State? Could have been BYU, Fresno State, Utah State. Not one of those kids said the University of Idaho. Over 3 different classes, not one kid said the University of Idaho. So for the youngsters, how can you describe the rivalry that was, and maybe could be in the future, but during your time, how big of a deal was that rivalry at the University of Idaho?
It was a huge deal, and I was fortunate enough to be on the tail end of it when it was still a rivalry, because there was still talk that it was kind of a toss-up on who was going to win the game, right? There could be chances that either side could win, and then as it progressed, Boise State just certainly dominated. But then you take it back. I mean, Idaho has had their run too, right? They had their 12-year run. So why was it still a rivalry? Because it's just different back then. The games meant a little bit more. Maybe there's some championships on the line back in those days. And football was different. It was literally like barbaric still. I mean, dudes running through the warm-up lines, and like fans throwing stuff, doing things that just they don't do anymore. So it was just a different mentality, a different scene entirely that added to a whole mix. And then as we got come along, and maybe we're getting a little more sophisticated, I guess in a good way. But man, I do get a little bit of a little twinge there, like when I hear that Vandal thing. And I'd be interested. In fact, I know for a fact if we line up against them, Boise State does that, it'll come back.
I have no doubt. It's the players from your era, before, even after you, that was such an unbelievable rivalry. And the fan bases loved it. I'm excited to see it come back at some point. It has to. Who knows if it's 5, 10, 20 years away, but at some point
I don't know.
Back.
They were talking about it.
I am curious from your perspective, being an opposing player at the University of Idaho, playing at the Kibbe Dome. I'm sure as a competitor you get excited for those games, but just how different was it playing your most hated rival that you may not have even known about 5 years prior, but now that's who you hate the most, playing at a pretty hostile indoor environment in Moscow?
I got to play one time in there, and it was my redshirt freshman year. And it's built in before you even get there, right? Because you already know the stories. It's like the week where all the old timers come back and talk about how much they hate the DAV. The DAV, somebody can go look it up. And it's ingrained in you. That's just what you do. You come to Boise State, it's the DAV now. So before you even step on the field, you already know what it means, win or lose, but there's some importance to this game. And thankfully, my time there, that first game, we won. We shouldn't have, and we pulled it out in overtime, mind you, but it was miraculous. But there's something about that dome, and I remember thinking how flat it was, because there's no need for any kind of curve in the field. They don't need to drain anything. It's not getting wet. And I remember thinking how flat it was, thinking, Jesus, you sure this is 100 yards long? It seems much longer than this. So that was one thing I do remember. I do remember being really dark, and but I also remember winning. So that's all that matters.
It's a good way to remember your trip to Moscow.
Yes.
That's for sure. They have made strides in lighting
that's what I hear.
since then.
Yes.
You can fully see the field, I promise.
Yeah.
So Bart, we'll move into our second one here. You don't have to finish that first one. We'll come back to it. But Weller Antique 107, as we educate you and get you more interested in bourbon, this is one that is very tough to find on the shelves. It's a lot of people's favorite. Very good, hard to find, and worth a Hall of Fame quarterback. So enjoy.
Cheers. Yeah. That one hits different, doesn't it? That one hits different.
They're all good. That's the thing is you're not going to find, we will never have a bad whiskey on this show.
Okay.
I can promise you that. So when you come back for round two, we'll bring the Hall of Famers of Neat Conversations back, and it'll still be phenomenal.
I can imagine
whiskey.
you're going to have some viewers who be like, he doesn't deserve to drink that. No. Because he doesn't even know what he's drinking.
No, that doesn't matter. As long as you enjoy it, that's all that matters, right?
That is different. It hits more of the mouth.
Yeah. It'll stay with you in a real pleasant way.
Okay.
But it'll let you know it's there.
If this is round two, I don't know what round three was going to do. Gasoline?
We'll ask the hard-hitting questions after the 126 proof third option.
There we go.
So Bart, when you look back at your career, there's always going to be the fun moments, the goofy moments, the sad moments.
Yeah.
For you came from Reno.
Yeah.
You were playing against Reno.
Yeah.
The unique halftime experience. Tell me about Dirk Cutter at halftime when you're playing your former hometown team.
Yes. This happened, it was on the Blue. We were playing, this is 1999. And we were starting to realize how good we could be, right? And I actually remember talking to my dad earlier that week saying, obviously they drove up from Reno. I said, Dad, this game's not going to be close. Like, we were very confident about how we were feeling about that game. And at halftime, it actually was close. And the reason it was close at halftime, because we were up 24-10 going into the half, theoretically. But the defense gave up, and I was not playing great. Let me put it back. I was playing okay. Obviously, we were winning, but I wasn't playing like I should have. Maybe I got a little too cocky. But what had happened literally seconds before halftime, their offense, the quarterback, and I can't remember his name, and he was pretty good, but he scrambled for like a 50-yard touchdown to end the half, right? So we go into halftime, now it's 24-17 instead of 24-10. Cutter's already upset the way I'm playing, and we had a little scuffle on the sideline, and he knows about it. It might be on TV somewhere. but that, and the fact, so you add that into the fact that they just scored before half, and he's already here, that just sent him up here. And we get in the locker room, and after everybody's already in it, and he comes storming in, the first thing he grabs is like an old wooden stool that we had in the locker room at that time. Some player's stool that he was not sitting on, and he should have. First thing he grabs, and he throws it against the whiteboard, and it shatters into I don't know how many pieces. But it gets your attention real quick, right? I don't know if you can do that anymore. But
I don't know if they have wooden stools anymore.
yeah, they don't have wooden stools anymore for that reason, maybe. But he shatters this stool, and of course, gives us what we need to hear, because obviously we shouldn't be playing better. And it worked, because we went out there and proceeded to beat them like 56-17 or something. They didn't score again.
Not bad.
So, but the topper of the week though is, we come back on Sunday, and for training and get your bumps and bruises fixed, that sort of thing. And the one and only Brian Harson, former coach Harson, my teammate, and the Harse is what we call them. He proceeds to take one of the markers and draws a target on the blackboard. He said, "Hit here," or something like that. But of course, he made a joke out of it. And of course, Cutter laughed too. But it had its mark. It worked. But that was a good one.
So was it the stool that broke, or was the whiteboard that broke?
The whiteboard actually survived pretty well. The stool was gone.
It's a high quality whiteboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. So you have this tremendous career at Boise State. You help usher in this FBS era of success. From there, you continue playing football, bit of a journeyman experience. What was that like, going from Boise State to trying to make it as a professional quarterback?
Loved it. Some of the best experiences I've ever had. I mean, you think about, you're 22, 23, 24 years old, and you're living out of a suitcase, literally. And you're traveling around the country, and then you're traveling around the world. I had a chance to go to NFL Europe and spend a season there for a couple months, and then when I got back from there, I was up in Canada and ended up playing there for 3 years. And each way along the journey, I have some friends that I still talk to this day that are from each parts of those playing experiences, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I didn't play a whole lot, but those were special times to be able to experience, and I would not have been able to do that without playing football. So if there's one thing that it brought me, was just those life experiences that you can't put a price on.
Did you have a favorite club that you played for?
I don't, because they both equally had their good times. We won a championship up in Edmonton, so we won a CFL. We won a Grey Cup that one year. We had some pretty good teams up there, so you can easily say that. And it was a great team, and there's some great players. But man, my time in Frankfurt, some of those guys were, because now you're hanging out with them in Frankfurt, but then you are a couple-hour train ride to a completely different country, and you're with a couple buddies, just being buddies, doing dude things,
hanging out in Europe.
And you're in Europe. So I don't know if I need to draw a picture, but it was a good time.
I'm a big fan of food and drink. So you get exposure to poutine in Canada.
Yep.
You get exposure to all sorts of European. Was there a food that you gravitated towards when you were in NFL Europe, whether it was hometown or when you were traveling with the buddies on the weekends?
There was a few spots here and there. Gnocchi was my first introduction there in Europe. I love gnocchi. I got my appreciation for drinking beer in Germany. Go figure.
Yeah, that's a good place to do it.
Europe makes better beer. I mean, it's just, or maybe because you're just in
Germany. Italian beer is terrible.
Okay, maybe good point.
German's
very good. So I got my appreciation for beer there, and maybe it's just the scene. It's like it just tastes better because you're in
there.
a different country.
Yeah.
I did not make it to Italy. Switzerland, we did. I mean, of course, you can say the chocolate, but I remember the fondue. We had fondue in Switzerland, and that was
a high-class football player.
Yeah,
fondue.
Because the only thing that was open, because the train got there like late at night, it was the only thing open. It's like, let's just have fondue.
The only thing open is fondue. That's like a highfalutin dinner out in downtown Boise, and that's like your late night food.
And the very next day, we were at Hooters. So there you go.
Hooters in Switzerland?
In Interlaken, Switzerland, was a Hooters. And I recommend Interlaken, Switzerland anytime, between two lakes. It's at the base of the Alps. And I remember we took a gondola up to this city and then took another gondola that went sideways up the hill.
That wasn't to Hooters.
Hooters was on the way back down.
Sure.
And I remember eating it's like, let's just go to Hooters because it's beer and whatever. And I remember you were watching this field and you're watching people paragliding down and landing in the field in front of you. So I don't recommend Hooters in Europe.
There are probably better culinary
The
experiences.
scene, no, it was a good Hooters to be sitting and enjoying.
Are you seeing the paragliders from your Hooters window?
Yeah, we were on the deck. Yeah, we were out on the patio.
That's a high-class Hooters experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't draw that up any better.
But yeah.
Put your travel agent hat on. Travel agent Bart
Yeah.
Hendricks. You've experienced some of these great European cities, Canadian cities.
Yeah.
If you were to recommend anyone from Boise
boy.
to go on an international trip to any of the cities you visited during your football
Yes.
playing career, where would you go and why?
I'd go. There's nothing wrong with flying into Frankfurt, Germany, because it's centrally located, and you can kind of pick and choose wherever you want to go from there. You're literally a 4-hour train ride in any direction to a completely different culture. So there's nothing wrong with starting there. Amsterdam is a must-see. Paris is Paris. I mean, it's at night. Paris at night. I don't recommend driving in Paris. Bad idea. Take a train. Edinburgh, Scotland,
Wonderful place.
big time place. And it's cold. Don't get me wrong. And this is like June, and it's cold. But one of the coolest things I remember was going into a club. It was a dance club, and going down like in a cavern. Like it was just stone cavern, and just dark. And I thought, this is like, we're in a castle. It's just a club down here.
I've
Dance
been
club.
fortunate enough to go to Edinburgh myself,
Yeah.
and I could move there tomorrow
Yeah.
and be happy. It's an great
Edinburgh's
whiskey town
fun.
too. You can
Yeah.
get scotch anywhere you go. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Edinburgh is cool. And Interlaken, Switzerland. There you go.
Interlaken, Switzerland, Edinburgh, Scotland, Boise, Idaho.
There you
All
go.
great cities.
And,
So,
and my favorite Canadian city is Calgary, by the way.
okay,
If I were to
why
say.
Calgary?
It's closer to the Rockies. It's just a good vibe, good town. Canadians are great people. It's not that far north of the border. Edmonton's even farther north. So it's a little bit, I don't know how the economy is now, but in terms of, it was a little bit cheaper to live there than some of the other cities like Toronto back east and even Vancouver. But Calgary is my favorite Canadian town.
So you travel all around the world with a suitcase and a football. You end up back in Boise.
Yeah.
What brought you back to Boise?
I think opportunities, right? I mean, obviously, my name had some recognition in terms of playing on the blue. So there was just some opportunities I felt were going to be here more so than back in Reno, where I'm from. So it turned out to be okay. Got some opportunities. Obviously, had a chance to come work for Boise State, and here I am, working for Boise State in more ways than one.
Tell me about that. You come back, you're making your
Yeah.
career at your alma mater, which
Yeah.
is kind of surreal. I don't
Yeah.
know if you really pay attention to that kind of thing, but when you take a step back, how surreal is it? And then what is your job today? And what has that career path been at Boise State?
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's surreal because I felt like it's just something that it feels more natural, and that's probably why I like it so much, because it's not a hard sell for me, right? It's I have the experience of being a student athlete or being a student at Boise State, so it's fun to talk about some of those experiences. And let's be honest, some of the donors that I do talk to, they talk about some of the past experiences as well. So. But the bottom line is, I'm there to support the future generations of athletes and student athletes and even the regular students, quote unquote, the regular students that go to Boise State. So my goal is to ensure that any student that comes to Boise State just has a phenomenal experience, much like I had. And I mean, and then obviously playing football, you're a bit of a non-traditional student, right? And sometimes I do wish that it'd be kind of fun to go back and just do it the traditional way, go to the game, go to the tailgates, be part of the fraternity or whatever. But I wouldn't change whatever I had, for anything. But yeah.
Why should someone who's invested in Boise State, whether they're a fan of the football program, they just like that the college is a big part of the community,
Sure.
What is your pitch to them to give back? What are the benefits of donating to Boise State University?
Well, you said it earlier. It's part of the community, right? If you live in this community, you should be investing in the next generation that's going to make your community even better. And there's some great things going on at Boise State, and lots of things that it doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, we do. We sit here and we hear a lot about how well the football team is doing, which is great. But it does have some good consequences. It does travel across the street to the education, the academic side. And there's a lot of great students over there. It's growing, it's popular, and by investing, quote unquote, donating to the university, you are literally ensuring that the next students have a great experience there, because that's what it's all about. And it should be a great experience. It should be some of your best times of your life. So,
quickly go back to your playing career. These are your words, not mine.
Sure.
You want people to know you were a better athlete than
Yes.
a quarterback. What does that mean to you? Because it sounds real demeaning to quarterbacks. I feel like it's an enviable position, but I feel like you're almost embarrassed to be a quarterback.
Because I wasn't that good at it. I'll say, I mean, I played it because I had to. There was no, and that's how it first started out. I think I was like 13 or 14, and the team I was on was like, we don't have anybody that can really play this game. I was like, I'll do it. At least I know right and left, and I can hand the ball off and maybe throw the ball. Maybe. My best experience of throwing the ball is when you're just playing in the school ground with your buddies, right? I mean, it's the last thing I wanted. I wanted to hit people. I wanted to run the ball. I wanted to run people over. I wanted to do Ashton Genty style. That's how I was as a kid. So I wasn't the biggest fan of being the quarterback. And I think a lot of it, now I look back on it, was the attention that it got. And I realized that. And so when I got to Boise State, yeah, I was okay at it. Just because I was a pretty good athlete, I understood the game, and I understood the feel of football. And I know that kind of seems, this psychological thing, but I can understand the feel. I can understand when you needed to like turn it on. Like, okay, this is when you dive for the touchdown or the first down versus just I'm going to sit back and let's just hang out for a bit. So there's different elements to the game that I just understood and could feed off of it and feel the energy. So I had to come to Boise State to learn how to be a quarterback, right? What is that joke? It reminds me of that movie, The Shawshank Redemption, when the main character, Andy, says, I was on the outside, I was straight as an arrow. I had to come to the prison to learn how to be a crook, right? It's like I had to come to Boise State to learn how to be a quarterback. And I came here to be a quarterback, but I wasn't good until a couple years into it, at least in my eyes.
I want you to try this third whiskey before I ask you this next question, because it might bring back some challenging memories. So, stiff whiskey ahead of a tough question.
Okay.
Booker's. This is from their 2025 batch. It's batch number 1. It is a 125 proof whiskey. So progressively, we've gotten a little stronger in these whiskeys. I like a high proof whiskey. It is something that I think it's not for everybody, and that's fine.
This one's going to burn a little bit, is what you're saying.
You'll feel it, but there's going to be some great taste in there. So, cheers.
Cheers. Oh yeah.
Again, like a great flavor, stays with you. I feel like every one of these, just turn it into a candle. I'll have it in my house 24/7, burning. But Bart, you mentioned the pressure that comes along with being a quarterback. And I think it's easy as a fan to get so into it that you forget these are still kids. They look like adults, but they're kids. Yeah. Many of them 18, 19, 20 years old. And you have had the distinct pleasure of being booed by your own fans.
Yeah.
What is that like? And how do you internalize and deal with that when you're still just a big kid?
Yeah. It burns just about as much as this whiskey right there, right? That's what it's like. It's like, gosh. It was an instant feedback. Like, always looking for feedback, right? If you want to improve on anything, ask somebody, like, give them honest feedback. Like, there's no truer honest feedback than just being booed about your performance or how you're doing. And it was a wake-up call. Yeah, at the time, humiliating, right? And you hear it. But it was a wake-up call, and it's like, okay, well, maybe there is some more, or there definitely is some more that I need to be working on here to improve my game. Because in my mind, I know I'm getting there, and I know I'm capable of it, but that just sets things more in motion. It's like, that's just a nice little kick to the rear. It's like, okay, you got to do much better.
How did you perform after getting the...
I think that, if I do remember, that was in 1998, early. So we didn't have a terrible season. We actually had a winning season in 98, so don't get me wrong. There was glimpses. There was glimmers of hope and potential there in that 1998 season, but just not enough to sustain yet. Like I said, we were just still, that was the Idaho game, right? That was the end. It's like we just weren't trying to figure out how to play the game. And actually the Idaho game was my best game that year, I felt, in terms of just all around, just performance and stats, but we lost that game. And so there was collectively, there's just a lot of things that go into it. It's not just knowing how to throw the football and knowing which plays to run and where to go with it. It's the mental aspect, it's the leadership aspect. There's so many things that go into it, and it all needs to come together to turn an okay team to a good team, and then even a greater team.
Bart, I want to ask you, as a Hall of Fame quarterback, you've seen good quarterback play at Boise State throughout the years.
Yes.
As a fan, as a staff member, when you look back at the quarterbacks that have played at Boise State, I know Kellen's the easy one to pick, so we'll remove him from the list.
Yeah.
Take Kellen away. What quarterback at Boise State did you enjoy watching the most, and why?
Bart Hendricks.
Why?
He was a better version of me. It's as simple as that. He was a better quarterback than I was, but he had a better skill set. He could run faster and he could throw better. And I'm bummed for him that he didn't get one more year. Because if he did, he'd be talked about differently. And I think he's very, he doesn't get the notoriety that he deserves. Now, he did win a Fiesta Bowl. There's one.
Can't argue that.
Yeah. There's one of three so far. So, but I enjoyed watching him, and I wish I got to watch him more. And with no disrespect to the other ones, all right? I mean, Rippon came in, and he was like one of the first ones, like right out of nowhere, like freshman, right? Just crushing it. I do enjoy watching Mad Dog right now, especially he's got such a great mentality for the game. He doesn't make mistakes. That's like rule number one as a quarterback. If something's wrong, don't make it worse. But he does a great job. And the guy can run too. But I've enjoyed watching the progression of them all. And of course, I was a big fan of Dinwiddie, but me and Dinwiddie were also in the same room together. So I felt like I had a part in his success. And of course he led on to Zabransky. But yeah, it's always been it's a big time position. I mean, I know there's some eyes on it, and I want it to be that way, because that means there's a sense of pride. There's some ownership there, that it's like there's a tradition here that the quarterback needs. He doesn't have to be great, but he has to be good enough for the team to be good, and that's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So, but yes, Bart Hendricks was my favorite one to watch.
I like it. When you talk about yourself, we've already gone over your humble nature. You've already benched yourself amongst this start bench cut situation. You also call yourself a has-been, which is tough. I don't know that I agree, but I get the sentiment. We're doing the math, and it has been a few years.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
How do you stay connected to the current team, the current program?
Well, it helps the fact that I work across the street. So and I don't do it as much as I should, but I do like the fact that I can just walk over and watch football and watch the team. And so that helps me stay connected. It helps me get a better understanding of, how the team's doing, and get a first glance of, the culture, and if it's still there, because that's the whole point. I mean, the culture is what defines Boise State, and it's been talked about a lot, but as a player and being part of it, it is really, truly what defines Boise State. It's the only reason why we continue to be successful. hats off to Coach Danielson for continuing to elevate it. He's keeping it, but he's elevating it. And so it helps that I'm around. And but I'm a fan. You know, I work at the Boise State, but I'm a season ticket holder, man. I go to the games and tailgate when I can. You know, I'm still a dad, but when I can. But it's something that I enjoy. I'm passionate about one team in the whole landscape of sports, and that's the Boise State Broncos. I love sports, but I can watch sports and just be a fan of sports without being passionate. Boise State, I'm passionate about.
You mentioned your son, 10 years old. Sure, he's getting into some sort of sports.
Yeah.
Have you delved into the world of coaching? Is that in your future?
Yeah, you know, he's into flag football right now, and I have been coaching, and I don't want him to. I try to be very like, hey, you're my son. I don't want to be that coach that just pushes him into that thing. I want him to have fun and enjoy his time out there, but I do enjoy a lot of it. You know, teaching some of the tricks of the trade and just holding on to the football, right? I mean, a lot of kids will just hold it like it's a loaf of bread, as I like to call it. But it's like, hey, there's a way to hold on to the football. So those little things, the little nuances that, just the little specifics of the game that I like just passing on. So, but yeah, we'll see. You know, if my son wants me to continue to do it, I'll do it. But I would like to just sit back and watch.
What is the Coach Hendricks coaching philosophy?
Oh boy, have fun, respect others, cheer on your teammates, but the most important thing is to have fun. You know, of course, when you win, it's a lot more fun, right?
Winning is inherently fun.
Yeah,
I don't think you can argue.
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Want to give some credit to your wife. Okay, so we've already talked about your son.
We should.
Let's talk about your wife.
Good choice.
I grew up in Boise. The name Bart Hendricks meant something.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. And your wife didn't know the name Bart Hendricks,
No.
didn't care about Bart Hendricks,
No.
but her family did. So tell me
Probably a
about
good thing. Yeah.
finding someone that you ended up marrying that had no idea who the hell you were.
Yeah.
But she goes home and is like, oh, I went on a date with this guy. And family says, oh, I think I know who that is.
Exactly. That's the story. And it's very unique because I am a couple years older than her, but we have the same degree. We took the same classes at Boise State, but never at the same time. So the same professors, exact same class, just off. When I was playing when everybody was tailgating and I was at the games, she was serving cocktails across the street at Chili's. So she never went into the games. She could care less about what was going on inside the stadium. She was making her money outside of it. So that didn't even occur to her to even pay attention to what was going on at Boise State. And it was probably, like I said, it was probably a good thing. And only because there is a connotation, right? I was the quarterback. Oh, he's the quarterback. He must be this prima donna that thinks he's better than everybody else, I was few and far between. That was not my style at all. But so it was probably a good thing, or else she probably would never went out with me. Who are you again? Yeah.
Well, it worked out.
Yeah,
so
worked out great.
That's impressive.
Thank goodness.
Well, Bart, thank you so much for being a guest here on Neat Conversations.
Yes.
You're a Bronco legend, even better human, so we appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
As we sign off, the camera's right there.
Yeah.
Message to Bronco Nation. Can be anything you want it to be. You're a fundraiser, so maybe this is a pitch, but whatever your message is, let Bronco Nation have it.
Bronco Nation, the boys out there on the blue, they're doing everything they possibly can, and they're trying their best. The worst critics are the players. When they do bad, they know it. When they do good, they're humble about it. But give them a chance to do what they do. They're young, they're gonna make their mistakes, but enjoy what we have out there on the blue, because good things are happening and good things will continue to happen because we have a great culture at this place. We have some great fans. And it's just, when you're out there on the blue, it's just something special. Obviously, I got it on my hat. That's why I wore it today. It's a special place. And I want you to realize how special it really is. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Brilliant.